Hello, welcome to that IT show. Today's topic is going to be me installing Fedora, or to be more precise, me finishing and installing Fedora that I already started, and going through the things that I think that are most needed when you are dealing with Fedora and related Linux operating systems. And the intention behind this is pretty simple. We are nearing the time when Windows 10 is going to be obsolete, or it's not going to be obsolete, but a lot of systems are going to become obsolete because the Windows as it stands, Windows 11 is not available on newer generation of Windows, newer generation of Intel's processors. So either if you're running on older AMD or running on older Intel, you are going to have a simple solution: either just throw the computer away, or B, go with some sort of other operating system, and this usually means Linux. I don't think that a lot of people are going to go with FreeBSD, so this is just going to be a thing that is going to push people to actually do something when it comes to operating systems. So I expect a lot of people are going to go with the Linux route. So let's roll the intro and then go through what do you need to know when you install Fedora for the first time. Okay, now let's go from the beginning. This is a clean virtual machine installation of Fedora. There are a couple of virtual machines here. I'm running VMware Workstation Pro, which is free, and I have a Windows as well, underlying operating system. And the only reason for this is that I'm using Windows 11 right now, but I already have at least two computers that is already switched to Fedora. And the reason why I chose Fedora is because I'm more inclined towards Red Hat's ecosystem. And the other thing is that I think that Fedora is one of the most interesting distributions when it comes to Linux, because it is being updated quite a bit. Updates are quick. And the most important part, it keeps up with all the changes in the Linux ecosystem. If I didn't choose Fedora, I would probably go with either Arch, which is much more complex for a first-time user, or I would go for Ubuntu for mainstream support, because Ubuntu is a lot more, it has a lot more users who are, let's say, just starting their Linux journey. So there is a lot of help available out there, but Fedora is not lagging behind. Fedora has a good community and is pretty much very interesting operating system when it comes to everything. Now, the Fedora that I'm using right now is the latest version. I think this is version 42. So at the time of this recording, this was the latest version. But whenever you are doing anything with the Fedora, or any other operating system, especially the distributions that tend to be in front of everything else, always make it, always try to update it to the latest version. And this is the first thing that I want to show you. Theoretically, you could go through the updating system and go to the software. So if you push on the upper left part of your screen, you're going to see different icons here. So basically, if you go to the software, if you open it, you're going to see that there are updates here. So it's going to tell you that there are system updates there, and that they require restart and update. Now, these are also the updates for different applications that are installed on this computer. Let's make a few things straight. First, I already did a couple of things that I installed on this machine. By a couple of mean only two. and they have no influence at all to our today's topic. But the thing that we are going to see here, that unlike Windows, Linux always, and I mean always, updates all the applications that are installed through the package manager. So this thing is trying to keep up with all the updates for all the applications that have been installed. And since almost all of the applications are created in such a way that they're open source, there is no there is no need to actually track all the applications by themselves. The package manager is going to track the updates itself. The second thing is that I could use the restart and update, and if I press this is going to be completely seamless. What I want to do, I want to show you what actually happens underneath the hood. So I'm going to go to my terminal, and I'm going to issue commands from here. Now, the next thing that is important is that you probably saw that my terminal just became bigger. I'm getting older. This is a high resolution display. So by pressing Control and then scrolling with the wheel, I can actually change the size of the font in my terminal. Also, theoretically, I could just open another terminal here, so I have two side by side. I could drag and drop another terminal to create windows. So if you want to work in terminal, the defaults that you come with Fedora are excellent. Now the next thing. This is going to be a little bit strange when you're coming from the Linux world. And this is that when you press restart and update here, it is going to try to restart the computer as soon as possible. Now, you are going to see on different forums and on different communities that updates themselves are not something that that is required to always restart the computer. And this is mostly true. Now, the thing is that the Fedora team, realizing that a lot of people are used to Windows updates and the restarting the computer and everything that comes with it, chose to go with the path that actually makes sure that all the updates are done while the computer is booting, so while nothing is happening. The reason for this is that when you're doing something on your server, when you're doing something on your machine that needs to be always on, restarting the machine in the middle of the workday or in the middle of the day itself is not something that you want to do. So most of the servers are going to apply the updates, and then when the major update is needed, for example like a kernel, you are going to need to reboot. Fedora Workstation, this version of Fedora, actually automatically updates and restarts if it needs to, because it's much safer to do so, because they're not going to be files that are going to be open while you are doing something. So it's okay, you don't need to do the restart, and usually in Linux you don't do restarts, but this is one of those things that got inherited from Windows. Basically, Windows itself restarts for different reasons, also for the files that are open, but this is a normal thing in Windows. In Linux, it's not usual for everybody to need to restart every time they need to update something. So let me just show you this. The tool that we are going to use, the tool that we are going to be using a lot, is called DNF. DNF is basically the command line version of the package manager here, or to be more precise, the graphical user interface that you see here is a graphical interface to DNF. So DNF is the actual tool that upgrades your computer and keeps track of everything that is installed, keep track of everything that is new, and when you tell it to update, it is going to go to the internet and find what are different needs, the things that need to be upgraded and or that can be upgraded, and then it's going to offer you to do the upgrade yourself. So let's do the DNF update. It's going to ask me for my password. The reason for this is that I'm running as a regular user. So if I go up here, just to re-show you what I started. There is a lot of things that can be updated, so I'm going to just go back. This $sign here means that I'm running as a regular user on my machine, and sudo superuser DNF update means that I want to run this thing as an administrator. So it asks me for my password. Now, as soon as I gave it the command to update, it went on the internet and it was trying to find what are the versions that are right now available on the internet, and what are the versions of the packages installed on my computer. You see here that the differences are minor. For example, Network Manager is available in the version 1.52.1-1, and my installed version is 0-1. So it's a minor upgrade, and I could theoretically go and see what is the if I wanted to do the info, I could go and see what is the what they did in the upgrade. Some of the versions are a little bit more when it comes to the advancing of the version. So there are probably 4 versions between these two, and you can see, but you can see that the differences are not that big. I have firmware that is coming from the May. This is the firmware from the August, and so and so. So different things that it is updating come with different versions. Usually what you do is you usually just go and say, okay, I'm going to do an update. And when it says, is this okay? I'm going to say, okay, yes. 1 gigabyte of download seems looks like too much, but it is going to finish in, it says 6 minutes, but it's going to be less than this because my connection is pretty fast, so I don't expect this to last more than 10 minutes. And while this is happening, I'm going to explain what the thing is with Fedora. Now, first, Fedora is one of the versions of Linux distributions that are distributed by Red Hat or supported by Red Hat. Now, Red Hat actually uses Fedora to test everything. So when you see something in Fedora, this usually means that this is going to be propagated later into CentOS and into Red Hat Linux. So the stream and the free version and the paid version that is the most stable one. And this goes for everything. So for example, Fedora right now uses BTRFS as the default file system. SC Linux is always enforcing in this version of Linux. Wayland, or the graphical interface that I'm using here, was first introduced in Fedora. Pulse Audio, the audio subsystem of Linux, was changed with Pipewire first in Fedora. So everything that you are seeing in your Red Hat or in your CentOS distribution is going to be tested in Fedora to see if it works, because Fedora is intended primarily to be a workstation machine. So it is not intended to run a server 24/7. It is intended more to be something that is going to be restarted a lot, and it is going to be used as a daily driver for a lot of people. This doesn't mean that this thing is unstable. It just means that they're going to be testing how stable it is. There is no absolutely stable software available on the market right now at all. Nobody can claim that the software that they're using is completely 100% stable. The thing is that you are more or less unstable when it comes to any package. And by more stable and less stable, I mean either they don't have bugs, so the bugs like security vulnerabilities and so, or the software itself actually does what it needs to do without stopping. When it comes to system software, we have solved a lot of things. So it is completely not uncommon for a Linux system to be able to run not 24/7, but 365 days a year, every year for a bunch of years. I had systems that are forgot in some clouds that were running for 7 or 8 years. They were doing their job. They were doing their job correctly. And the thing that I actually, the reason why I forgot about them is because nobody had any problems with them. I had a small Raspberry Pi machine that was acting as a receiver for an audio stream, and it was streaming this audio through a small amplifier to a small speaker on another part of the building, because I was asked to configure something that is going to just throw the audio from one part of the building to another part of the building, basically elevator music. The amazing thing is that it ran for 5 years without anybody understanding that this was actually a computer. They thought that it was just a wired speaker because it required so little maintenance that nobody was paying any attention to it. So it was just on for 5 years. The only reason why we actually paid attention to it is because I remember that we had this thing, and then when I connected, I realized that nobody was paying any attention to it, and that it needed to be restarted in order for a lot of updates to be applied. So as I said, okay, I restarted, and then it continued on working. Now, what I'm doing right now is I'm updating everything. This includes the kernel. This includes all the applications. This includes all the different libraries and everything else that this distribution needs to run. This would take a lot less time if I didn't have the LibreOffice installed. It would take a lot less time if I didn't have Firefox, if I didn't have different other things installed here, so like maps, like streamers, and so on and so on. So this is just something that is basically the result of me having a good chunk of internet installed here. Okay, as we are waiting for this thing to finish, keep in mind that the only thing that actually needs the restart is the kernel and the firmware updates for your machine. Unlike Windows, Linux is going to specifically tell you when there is a firmware update for anything on your machine, for example, for the laptop, for the any device basically that you have connected, and it's going to offer you to do the upgrade through the there is a separate tool called firmware upgrade manager, and the package manager is usually going to warn you about this. There is going to be a warning when you boot up on the boot screen, or on the login screen when you log in to your terminal, to tell you that there is an available update, so you can update whenever you need to. Now, the second thing is that we have to talk about something called Fusion free and non-free, and so on. All the updates you're seeing here are being downloaded from the different repositories. Repositories are sets of packages that are offered for free, of course, because they're open source, to users of Fedora and Red Hat and CentOS and so on. Different repositories belong to different distributions, and the reason why there are different repositories is because the software itself is sorted by some criteria. In this particular case, when it comes to Fedora itself, the criteria is that it's new software. Some of it's not thoroughly tested. When it comes to Red Hat, it's usually the most stable version of the current software, and much more attention is paid to packages that make it this far. Now, being an open source and open software, free open source distribution by default, some of the drivers are going to be missing. So when it comes to installing software, when it comes to Fedora itself, you are going to be you're going to need to enable RPM Fusion repositories that are going to give you access to software that is not entirely free, or is not entirely or is closed. For example, NVIDIA drivers are free to use, but they're closed source, so you cannot get the source of the NVIDIA drivers, but you can install them. The thing is that usually you just need to do this once, and then you are also going to have all the software from those repositories available. The next thing is that there is something called Flatpak. Fedora itself has more or less two ways of installing software. The regular way is to go to the repository, grab the entire package, get from this package to get the things that it needs to install. So all different things like all the libraries and everything else here that you can see here. And it's going to put them where they belong. The other solution is to use the Flatpak. Flatpak is basically a package that contains everything that application needs to run inside one package, so that you can actually move this package from machine to machine without installing any additional packages. And this is the reason why it's called Flatpak. It is the idea is pretty similar to what Docker is, but this is applying to packages and it requires a lot less communication and a lot less installation when compared to Docker. So this is an interesting thing that Fedora actually supports. So while we are waiting for this thing to finish, and it's going to take a while, let's talk about different things that we are going to be seeing here. When you're dealing with Windows, the first thing that you're going to be missing here in Fedora is that there is nothing on the background, on your background. There is this image. This is an actual official Fedora image. You can change the display settings, so I can change the resolution here. I can do all the different settings for the system here, so I can change the sounds, I can change the power settings, I can switch to performance, I can tell it to not blank the screen. I can tell that I want my corners to be hot. So hot corners means that if I put my cursor on the upper left side, I can open the activities overview. Right now there is nothing to see, so I can move the active images. So if I put the screen on the left or right, it's going to open the same way that it usually opens in Windows 11. And there are a couple of different things that you can see here. Also, there are things that you can actually tweak. So if your workspace is going to be on multi-monitor, on primary display, on all the displays, and so on, I usually keep this to the defaults. The reason why I'm here is because compared to Windows, this is completely empty. And this is normal. When you go to activities here, you're going to be seeing your terminal or whatever is running. On the right, this thing that you are seeing on the right, there is a part of the screen. If you click on it, this is another desktop, so you can have multiple desktops at the same time, and those desktops are going to keep the windows that you are opened on them. So for example, if I want to leave this thing running, I can just switch to another free desktop and have it completely empty. And then I can run any application here. Also, let's run a calculator here. If I go to activities here, and if I open this thing, if I go to show apps, I'm going to see all the apps that are installed here. And let me just quickly digress. I installed GNU Radio, GQRX, SDRL Angel, and the Universal Radio Hacker. Because I'm doing some experimenting with the SDRs, so source-defined radios. You can buy those RTL cards for more or less a couple of dollars. 40 if you're buying something special, 10 if you're buying just the cheapest possible brand. And they are interesting if you want to start understanding how radio transmissions work. So, for example, you can listen to FM radio. You can understand how different radio modulations work. You can listen to different things that usually you cannot listen to. For example, there is an ADSB decoder that enables you to track the transponders of the aircrafts above you. You can do a lot of things. So I installed this because in Linux the support for these things is much better than what is in Windows. The rest of the things here are more or less the things that are going to be installed automatically. The only thing that is different is the maps and the LibreOffice. LibreOffice is the package. When I open the writer, you're going to see that it looks kind of sort of like Microsoft Word, but the idea of this is to be able to actually do things. When I said kinda, this is because they are not using the ribbons, they're using the old style of what Microsoft Word was using for icons. So the design of the icons here is more or less the old design that Office used to have. And for all intents and purposes, this is more than enough if you want to do any kind of work. Also, LibreOffice is able to open yes, Mac terminal told me that this is finished, which is a nice thing to have, because it actually told me, oh, I'm finished in this other window, so this is fine. And let me go back. Just give me a second. There is a shortcut, but I cannot use it when I'm in virtual machine. So I'm going to go with my LibreOffice, and there is a compatibility, so I can actually open and save the files from Word, and I can use these files when it comes to, so I can use the .x documents to save, and I can also in Word open and save ODF documents, so open document format. So if I need to do something and it requires Office, this is enough. It doesn't have some of the most advanced features seen now in Office 365, but for majority of users, this is more than enough. Of course, there is a thing, because the applications themselves cannot be named Word, Excel, and so on. So we have Writer, Calc, Impress, and this is basically it. So these are different things that you can use to actually go and do the PowerPoint presentations, Excel, and Word. Second thing is that there is maps. Maps are able to open the I don't have the layers here. So these are installed by default with Fedora, so I can actually go and see city of Zagreb here. It is going to show me somewhere near Zagreb. Okay, it is showing the location of my ISP, and this is a good thing because I don't want to dox myself. I'm somewhere in the middle of Zagreb, so I'm somewhere here. But the thing is that when it comes to maps, this is OpenStreetMap. So this is not commercial maps from either Apple or Google. These are the maps that are open for use, and they contain all the information that you basically need. So this is the preferred map when it comes to open source usage, and it works. It's a fine thing to have. Okay, so I updated. I finished the things here. So what do I do if I need a piece of software? Let me go through the things that I cannot live without. And I'm going to open the software browser or the software installer. And it's going to give me some of the things that are right now being promoted. So Refine, teleprompter, DP, impression, and so on and so on. And some of the things that I need are going to be here. Some of the things that I need are going to be on the internet. Let me quickly go through some of the things. For example, Refine. Refine is a tool that can be installed from the left Flatpak, and it is able to tweak the appearance of my desktop. This is something that I'm going to install it, and I'm going to show you another tool that you need. But the thing is that these are the some of the small things that enable you to actually customize your Linux installation and to make you happier, to make it easier to use the system, to make it more user-friendly, because in Linux everything is about customization. You can change everything. So these are some of the things that you can actually work with. Now, the thing that I'm also going to install are going to be different things that are required or are a good thing to have. I'm going to try to install them. I start software use new plugins, not now. I'm going to go with the Explorer. I'm just going to push here and try to find some things. So for example, what I wanted is GNOME tweaks. I'll let it just finish. I'm not sure that it is available through the software repository, but it most certainly is available through the command line. The reason we are waiting is because it is installing the other piece of software in the background. So I'm going to be needing things. Now, let me quickly open another terminal. And let me put it here. I'm going to put this window here. And let's see what is the status of the refine. Did it install? It's slow. Let me just switch to super user. Okay, it installed the refine. And now let's see what is happening with the so this is fine now. What is happening with my GNOME tweaks? There it is. So GNOME tweaks, I'm going to install it. It's not a Flatpak package. It's an actual application package. And if I open it, okay, I can do tweaks to different things in my environment. So for example, I can actually tweak the fonts that I see. I can tweak the sounds. I can tweak the appearance. So the background image, the dark style image. Linux can have different images depending on are you using the day and night. So what time of day it is. There are styles for different applications. I can tweak the keyboard. I can tweak the keyboard in a way that I can actually reuse some of the keys that are on the Windows keyboards. So left and right super are basically keys that are used in Windows. So I can reassign them. I can tweak what is happening with the Windows in applications, what the applications are going to be started in startup, and so on and so on. Let me just see if the tweaks did install here. So refine is going to be pretty simple, pretty similar. But if you see what refine does, is that it actually gives you additional things to tweak with, to work with. So we can tweak a lot of different things. So you can see what are going to be font hinting, font anti-aliasing. You can change the interface for the interface document and monospace fonts. You can adjust the background in a different way and so on. So these are rarely used things, but you can actually tweak those things inside the GNOME. The GNOME itself is the thing that we are looking at. So the window manager that we are working right now. It's not strictly, it's not called GNOME, it's called Wayland. But anyways, the GNOME is the design that we're using. Now, what usually you're going to be using is a couple of other tools. So let's do DNF install and let's install a tool that we actually are going to be needing, htop. If I say yes, it's going to just go grab the tool, install it, and this is it. What this tool is if I do top, I'm going to see how the my computer is behaving right now. So these are the different tasks that are running. I can see the number of tasks, the CPU time, my loads, the amount of memory, and so on. Htop is pretty similar to this, but it looks nicer. It gives me the breakdown by the processor. I have 12 of those in this. I just gave it 12 cores from my host system. I have 16 gigs of RAM, so you can see how much RAM is used, what is the percentage of the load for different processors, and you can grab a quick idea of what is happening in your system. If I go to the I/O, I can see also the number of writes and the amount of writing done for with the disks. So this is basically a tool to see what your system is doing from the command line. Bear in mind that command line is something that is going to be used a lot. When you are dealing with Windows, you are not using command line. In Linux is the most used thing. Now, back to the things that I also wanted to show you. I wanted to show you that you can actually paste here. So DNF installed, download the npm fusion, and so on and so on. And what this thing is going to do is it is going to give me access to additional repositories. I mentioned this, but I skipped over it because I couldn't show it to you while the system was updating, because the updating system works like this. It downloads all the information from the repositories, then it locks the repositories so nothing can be changed, and then it updates the system. If you want to add additional repository, and if you want to do it in such a way that you can actually do something with it, you need to wait for the updating system to finish. If you are mixing this tool, so the software, with the DNF tool from the command line, sometimes you're going to be seeing that either this tool tells you that the package manager is locked, or DNF is going to tell you that this tool is updating something. So they cannot run at the same time. Now it says up to date, last checked 54 minutes ago, and it's not going to do anything. If I press here, I'm telling it to recheck. And if everything is okay, I'm going to be just up to date. Let me just do this thing from the command line here. Now it is going to non-free and free repositories. It loads the repository and says, okay, there is nothing there. Now I have the access to the default repositories, also to the non-free and free repositories, so I'm completely covered with everything that is being released for Fedora 42. Anyway, this is the thing that we need to mention when you are just starting. Now, let's go through other things that you actually need. For example, what I would suggest you install is these guys. So DNF install VLC, MPV, FFmpeg, and OBS Studio. Okay, OBS Studio is a little bit of, let me see what it says, FFmpeg free. Okay, you can try allow erasing. Okay, minus allow. Okay, so basically what I'm doing is I'm allowing it to erase old versions and use the non-free versions. Now, why am I doing this? Let me explain. FFmpeg is one of the most used, if not the most used, way of decoding and encoding video on any operating system, not only on Linux. Some of the tools and some of the codecs, for example H.264, MP3 and so on, have a problem with legal and licensing. It is not legal for Fedora to distribute them with their own operating system. You have to install the codecs later. So there is a free version of a tool, for example VLC and FFmpeg, and there is a non-free version of the tool that contains the codecs, that only the codecs that are free. So for example, you cannot watch a movie encoded in H.264 unless you install the non-free version of the codec. You're not breaking any law, but Fedora would if they distributed the non-free version. So basically what you're doing is you are just saying, okay, now I'm an end user, I'm an individual, and I have the right to use the codec. And so we're going to be installing it. So here it removed FFmpeg free and instead installed the FFmpeg, which contains the codecs that were a problem. So the free version, the only difference is using the codecs that are only free here and then using all the codecs in the other version. This is a talking point for people who like to talk a lot about copyright issues and distribution issues and right to use the free software and so on and so on and so on. But these are the things that you need to pay attention to. OBS Studio is a streaming thing. So if you install the OBS Studio, which is installed now right now suddenly I have MPV Media Player, OBS Studio and VLC. If I open the OBS Studio, okay, next, I'm not going to use this, I'm going to stop. This is the software for streaming. And this software for streaming is something that I'm using to record this video, but only on Windows. It's the same thing, basically. It's a free project that you can use for streaming, but also includes some codecs that are fun to have and nice to have. And I like to have it because whenever I'm doing something, I like to be able to not only stream but also to record. One of the things that you can do is that you can, in the sources, you can actually say I want to add I don't know, screen capture, and then I can actually tell it, okay, I want to capture this particular window, for example, I don't know, my terminal. And now my terminal is part of my screen, so I can actually put it on my screen. And now I can actually, while I'm doing something, so if I do something here, this is going to be captured and only this screen is going to be captured. So you're not going to be seeing what I'm doing outside of my screen, but I can show you what the capture of the screen looks like and I can record something. This is a nice thing to have. I usually use it. And also it comes with some codecs that I need, so I just install it anyways. Now, let's do more installations for the things that I recommend. LibreOffice is something that is a tool that I already installed. The next thing that I always tell people that they should be using is Thunderbird, which is a mail reading software, a mail client, basically. I like to recheck if the Flatpak is installed. Thunderbird. I need to do the Flatpak by itself. So Thunderbird is installed now. And then I want to do the Flatpak install. The reason why I started typing Flatpak is because I wanted to make sure that it is working, but I cannot do it. I need to do it one by one. So this is a Thunderbird, which by itself is a pretty big program. It's half a gig right now. But as they say, this is probably the best program to read emails on Linux or any other platform. It uses the same interface that you're used to in other programs, and it looks nice, I must say. Now, let me just start Flatpak to see if it works. Okay, Flatpak works, so I'm going to go and install 2 packages, FlatHub and Joplin Desktop. Okay. It says, what do I want to do? Proceed with changes, yes, okay. So I'm going to FlatHub and I'm going to do the Joplin notes. Now, what are the Joplin notes? This is one of the most useful note-taking editors that I have. It is using Markdown language, and the thing is that it enables you to actually create your notes and keep those notes on your machine, but also to synchronize the notes across every machine that you have or every device that you have. So there is a version of Joplin Notes for Linux, for Windows, for an Android, for iPhone, and so on. So if you note down something and use something like Dropbox or OneDrive or Google Drive to synchronize things, then you are able to see all your notes on all your machines at the same time, and you can actually use those notes, and Joplin looks like this. So basically what you do is you can actually see here, you can do your edits in real time. So for example, if I want to just remove this thing here, I'm just going to remove it. Then it removes the image. I can cut and copy the images. I can paste them here. I can organize things into subheaders and headers using the hashtags and so on. So this is something called Markdown. Markdown is a way of actually writing your text and putting a link into it, doing bolds, so emphasizing things, creating headers and so on. So it's a nice thing to have, and you can actually do things like this and just do inline images, and then you can actually go and synchronize those things with different services. It gives you the ability to use the Joplin Cloud, Dropbox, and OneDrive. Joplin Cloud is their own service. You need to pay something. You can use Dropbox or OneDrive, or you can actually create in whatever way you want shared directory and then have the Joplin synchronized through it. For some time I was using SyncThing, that this is a free synchronization tool, to keep my notes synchronized across all my different devices, but right now I'm using Dropbox basically. Okay, what next? If you are into doing things like, I don't know, drawing, doing image, any image creation, or you need to actually do something on the images, Linux has a great alternative to Photoshop. So DNF install GIMP, and yes, and I'm going to go with the GIMP because GIMP is okay. Okay. Now if I open GIMP, and I'm going to open it from the from here, I'm going to just open, see if it's installed. Yes, GNOME image manipulation program, and you're going to be faced with a little bit of an old but an interface that reminds you of Photoshop. So this is going to be, or you can use this instead of Photoshop for most of the tasks that you would normally do in Photoshop. I must say that it lacks in some things, for example AI, but it's not a bad image editor at all. There is also something called Krita. If you install it, just give it a second, which is also a thing that enables you, or an application that enables you to work with your images. I'm not going to go through Illustrator alternative called Inkscape or KDN Live or Olive, which are Premiere alternatives. There is Audacity for audio editing and so on. So there are different things that you can actually do. Now, the next thing is Visual Studio. Visual Studio Code, which is available on the Windows, is also available on Linux. So you can use this, which is a great thing. If you want to use Dockers or containers, there is something called Podman, which I'm not going to install here, but you are going to be working with it. Virtualization is supported, so you can run virtual machines. You just need to install virtual manager, so then you can actually work with the virtual machines. And there are different other things that you can work with. Now, I'm not going to say that, and let me just open Krita so I can show it to you. The thing is that I'm not going to say that what is offered on Linux is going to be 100% the same things that are used on the Windows. But the thing is that Linux is right now maybe 97% there. If you are doing something, and if you need to do something, especially in today's world where you are connected to different web applications and you are rarely using things from the desktop, Linux is 100% there. It's even better because if you are keeping your system updated, and if you are keeping your updates ready, you are going to have much more and much more stable support for different devices. Also, support for different devices tends to be rock solid once it works. So, for example, I never run into a problem like I always do in Windows, in which my USB device suddenly stops working. Either it works or not. Most of the time it works. If it isn't working, it requires some tweaking. But once you get it working, it usually doesn't break. The main thing that you can actually do is that you can actually stop the devices from updating, and you can actually tell the system, okay, now I have my system the way I want it, so let's not do anything to this particular device driver anymore. And this is something that you cannot stop in Windows. So when it comes to different things that you need and want to install, Linux is pretty much there when it comes to desktop. The only reason why it hasn't started being mainstream yet is because people are not inclined to test it. And I must say that this is a problem, and this problem is a huge one because Linux is ready. Windows is the problem that is right now that needs to be solved. And from my perspective, as somebody who's been using computers for the better part of last 40 years, I'm going to say that I like Fedora, I like Linux distributions, and I'm slowly switching from Windows to those. Main reason being virtual machines. If I'm able to run Windows inside Fedora, and Windows behaves the same as if I ran Windows and then Fedora inside Windows, I would rather choose to run operating system, Linux as an operating system and the host, and then have my Windows machine inside it, than the other way around. There are a couple of reasons for this. The main being, I need a solution like VMware or Hyper-V or something to be able to run virtual machine inside Windows. And the support for virtualization is already inside kernel for Linux, and you only need KVM support for this a little bit, and then everything else actually works out of the box. So it's much closer to the processor. I know that VMware runs fine, Hyper-V runs fine, but integration of virtual machines inside Linux for me usually looks more stable. And basically most of the things that I need are going to run on any system either way. So I'm not trying to be, or I'm not trying to get myself in a position when I'm committed to a single operating system. I think that I'm going to switch to Linux because I have a huge number of machines that I'm using on Windows 10 that are not going to be able to be run on the Windows 11, and I don't want to throw them away. I'm a ham radio operator, for example. I have a remote station that is running Windows 10, and I have a couple of applications running there. This is going to become unusable. I'm running an older, and by older I mean something like 8 or 9 years old Intel, but this Intel is 64 gigs of RAM, and it's i7 from whatever generation it is. I think it was the 6th, and there is zero reason to exchange it for anything. This could be run on probably a Core 2 Duo from the start of the 2000s. So this doesn't make any sense to be changed with another operating system, while at the same time I want to have some sort of security updates and everything else, which is not going to be offered to me by Microsoft once the Windows 10 support runs out. Okay, so that was me talking about Fedora and what to do first. Thank you for being with me, and see you next week, where I'm going to be tackling some other form of completely uninteresting but yet fascinating topic on the Linux front. Thank you. See you next time.